G'day folks and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. My name's Oliver Brandt and in this episode I'm joined by Michael Goncalves.
Hey team.
Angelo Valdivia.
Let's go.
Oh, good lord. And Luke Henderson.
Hello there.
Absolutely was not expecting that.
Angelo, how many hours and or days did you spend making that moment happen?
Well, since its inception, it was when I got the Stream Deck, so it's been over 2 years, but I only got it working today after about an hour and a half of fiddling around.
Okay, perfect.
It's absolutely worth it. So we've got a great episode lined up for you all about the latest Nintendo Direct, which for once didn't air immediately after our last episode. We actually waited and it paid off, so yeah.
Yes.
We're somewhat timely about this one. It's still gonna go up a week later, but still, it is fairly fresh. But before we get to that, let's quickly check in on some other stories that happened before the Direct. So on Nintendo Switch Online, 5 Mega Man games just dropped out of nowhere. So these are the Game Boy Mega Man games. So Dr. Wily's Revenge and then Mega Man 2 through 5. It means that basically every Mega Man game is on the Switch in one way or another. So yeah, also the Game Boy games, the Game Boy Mega Man games are actually quite good. They're named as if they're ports of the NES versions, but they are not. They're completely different things, and quite fun.
Isn't one of them's the bad one or something? Isn't 3 the bad one because a different studio made it compared to 1, 2, and 4 and 5 or something?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I just know that Mega Man 4 is the one that everybody likes. So
Yeah.
So I think this is really interesting because Capcom has pretty much been sticking to its own legacy collections, especially for Mega Man, for years now, I guess.
When you say that all the Mega Man games are on Switch, you mean the 2D ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because I'm trying to look for Legends, and I'm not seeing anything about Legends.
No, Mega Man Legends is unfortunately not on Switch.
Yeah, there's that one. There's a Mega Man Street Fighter game that was fan made but also approved by Capcom. It's all these sort of weird spin-off ones aren't there, but yeah, almost all of the mainline in quotes there games are now on Switch.
Yeah, so we've got classic Mega Man 1 through 11. We've got the Game Boy ones. We've got Mega Man X, Mega Man 0 and ZX, Battle Network.
There's a lot of Mega Man games, and they're there.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think it's interesting that first of all that we got 5 all at once, because the Nintendo I know would drip these out at 1 a month at best. So getting 5 games all at once is kind of interesting because I don't think that's ever actually happened.
Well, I'm just surprised that
Any
they're
Nintendo Switch Online drop.
I'm just surprised they're not coming at any extra cost in a specific collection. But I guess if Nintendo has some sort of right to them for being Game Boy exclusives back in the day, then yeah, they wouldn't come to PlayStation or Xbox or PC.
Yeah, it's weird. But hey, they're there now. I also think it kind of opens things up maybe to other games from other publishers like Square Enix, where we could see games that Square's never going to touch otherwise come to the service because, we're never going to get, Chrono Trigger on the Switch unless it's through the SNES app. It's just not going to happen. Or other things that are kind of in that vein. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, we still have been getting a pretty consistent rate of updates with Nintendo Switch Online, which is good. I think we've had one every month, not necessarily on any specific platform, but one every month for almost a year now.
Ever since I put out that feature saying the Nintendo have no more games coming out, they've been putting games out. They're just doing it to spite me.
You're this son of a beep.
Can you put out a feature saying that Nintendo will never release Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD?
Sure. I'll get right on that.
But yeah, so more games is good. We'll revisit Nintendo Switch Online a little bit later because there's some strange stuff going on in that with things that were featured in the Direct. But still a couple more things to get to before that. A Google employee was found to have been accessing Nintendo content via the YouTube backend and leaking it. Google says that all reports that were identified have been resolved. They also said that the issue was non-intentional, which I don't know how somebody unintentionally looks up a Nintendo Direct in the backend and then leaks information about it, but I mean,
it also says, like, the report said they downloaded the video with an admin account and then shared unreleased video with a friend. It's like, yeah, I remember accidentally doing that entire thing myself back in the day.
yeah, I think that's just Google trying to like cover its ass.
Oh, 100%.
Obviously, they have a duty to keep private things private to companies that upload those things, but yeah. But there's also been other stuff going on in the world of leaks this past week in particular, which has just been very silly. So another thing that happened is there's quite a prominent leaker called PR who leaked a lot of stuff about Nintendo Directs before they happened in the past couple of years. The most recent one only leaked one thing, and it was a Japanese exclusive thing. And then it was confirmed via Bloomberg reporting that they were accessing, or somebody that they knew was accessing the eShop backend to get that information. And I'm guessing that's probably not going to happen anymore going forward, because that person will almost certainly be fired. And the other weird, stupid leaker thing that happened in the last week is a leaker called Midori, who leaked a bunch of Sega stuff.
They were known as the Atlas leaker.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a lot of information about Atlas. And by all accounts, and according to them, it was like a Japanese woman living in Japan who knew people in Sega. Turns out, not so much. It was a white guy living in the US who was pretending to be a Japanese woman, and they just had a document that was obtained in a hack a few years ago, and were just coasting on that. So yeah, they were outed and removed from the internet too. So yeah, leaker culture is weird, and I don't understand really why anybody gives a shit beyond like, wow, I get to know something a little bit early, right? Like,
there's two things that always make me laugh. One is when John Cartwright from GVG, he made that fake Twitter account, and he made all these predictions like a week before a Direct, but because everything was private, he just went in then and deleted all the ones that didn't end up being true, and then made the account public. But because he tweeted all these things, the date stuck. So, all these predictions were like super thing. It was like Waddle Dee Knows or something was the account. And he just made this big, and everyone sort of fell for him. Like, oh my God, this guy knew everything, but nobody knew who he was. So there was that one. And then I remember I can't even remember now, the year that they put Banjo-Kazooie in Smash. So there was that trailer in the E3 Direct. And I remember, so I got to see that early. And there was some guy, because I was in Los Angeles, and Ollie and Vook were talking consistently about this one leaker who was like, oh, I'm going to see it early, I'm going to release everything, rah, rah, rah. And I remember seeing it, seeing these comments about how he was going to leak everything. And we always make the joke that Nintendo ninjas will always get you in the end. And then, like, the day before the Direct was meant to be announced or something, he got, like, a cease and desist letter from Nintendo lawyers because he was, like, promising all this stuff. It was just such a big thing. And I remember half the stuff he was saying, like, I had seen the Direct at that point, and it was just, like, utter bullshit. But it's like, it just makes me laugh that people will go to all these extremes for nothing. They're not getting money for doing this. They're doing it for 5 minutes of internet fame, and 5 minutes of internet fame these days is all of 7.5 seconds. So it just makes me laugh that people will go to these extremes for no actual reason.
It's because it's the closest these kinds of people feel like, James Bond or something like, oh my god, I got access to this Nintendo account. So oh dude, there's a new Mario game coming out. It's like, cool, man. All right, sure, go off.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, there's a market for leaks, unfortunately, in terms of social clout, and that, like, people do want to know things early and feel like they're in the know and they know things before other people do. But, like, it's all a bunch of bullshit, really.
Oh, but also, I don't want to keep the discussion going on longer than it needs to, but also, like, the companies who have the marketing teams who really fervently try to keep these as like company series secrets aren't like not without blame either.
Sure.
Negative or whatever. Just kind of perpetuates the need for people, or the compulsion that some people feel to go and try to find this information out and then leak it. Just because, like, you know, film and games in particular are just so tightly clad in NDAs and lawyers and all these kinds of things about trying to keep things under wraps until specific dates so they can, you know, meet certain marketing milestones and stuff. So it's all stupid in the end.
Yeah. Unless you have anything to say about it, Michael. Do you care about leaks at all?
I mean, like, I understand why people want to know things. Like, I get it. I'll never understand the cult personality shit behind leakers. Like, I do not care at all about a leaker.
It's so dumb, right?
Also, like, acknowledge that almost every Ubisoft game leaks at some point.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, they did it with the Beyond Good and Evil remaster, in that, like, they uploaded themselves like 2 hours before the presentation where it was being shown off.
They did that. They also did it months ago. Like, they put it up on Xbox, I think it was.
Yeah, it's been leaked like I think it was 3 times before it actually got announced. So I was like, okay.
And honestly, that's how you know that the Sands of Time remake is like doing poorly, because like it hasn't leaked in any capacity, so there's nothing to leak.
I will say the best ever leak though that I've ever heard of was literally that some guy on his laptop was working away on a presentation for Tomb Raider. And just the gamer just happened to look at his screen because he was on a public transport method. You know, just happened to look over and went, "Oh, that's different. I better, you know, tweet about this." It's like, and just leak the game. It's like, just like the best thing ever.
Yeah. Alrighty, moving on to the next story. There's not much more before we. Okay, we'll get quickly through it because there's a lot of stuff actually before we get into it. Lego Horizon Adventures, which is a Horizon Zero Dawn game, but in Lego, is coming to Switch and PlayStation, but not Xbox, which I think is like very petty and funny. It's being developed by Studio Gobo, or Gobo, I guess, if you're Australian.
I say Gobo.
Yeah, which they've made a bunch of family-friendly games in the past. Really got Michael with that one, huh?
Yes, why? Why'd you have to say
it? Yeah, it also did show up in the Direct as well, but we already knew about it at that point. Yeah, it's basically just a Horizon game, but Lego. Don't know why they did that, but sure.
Yeah, I don't know why this exists at all, but it actually looks kind of fun.
It does look fun.
Yeah. I think like all like Lego style like adventure action games, it looks fun. But I agree, I just don't know why this of all things. Like,
yeah, I know, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, in terms of the designs of the robots and stuff, like, it absolutely suits. And there are Lego sets of like the I can't even remember what they're called. The giant walkie ones. Ones that are basically giant satellite dishes. Yeah, like they look amazing and stuff. So I totally understand how this fits as a Lego property. I just don't understand why it exists as a game and why it's coming to Switch. But whatever. I mean, like, I'm not going to buy it, but I'll play it on PlayStation Plus in like a year and a half.
So I suspect the reason why it's on Switch is a Lego decision. So MLB The Show is on Switch, and that's made by Sony. But this is not made by Sony. It's made by a third-party studio. But Sony are producing it, obviously. But with the MLB game, which is on Xbox in Game Pass, and it's on Switch, that was an MLB decision, that if Sony wanted to keep the license to that game, they had to bring it to more platforms. And I suspect this is Lego doing something similar, where like, hey, we're happy for you to make it, but we'd like you to put it on, you know, more than just PlayStation. That's what I suspected. It's obviously they're not going to confirm it. Lego won't say why. PlayStation won't say why. It's just one of those things. So
I also just love that Nintendo and Sony just seem to be like really picky about who they're partnering with about certain game releases. Meanwhile, like Xbox is that person at the party who's just trying to hook up and get down with everyone.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
I mean,
what are you
really-
talking about?
Games? We got games. You guys want some games?
It really does speak to like the position that all of these companies are in. And that like, you know, Sony is like fairly secure, but lagging behind a little bit. Like Nintendo is fine, and like Microsoft is really, really struggling with Xbox because, I mean, what do you do with it, right? Like they've spent the last, 10 years training people not to buy games, and now nobody's buying their games. So yeah, it's really interesting to see. But I mean, this does open the door to like, Lego versions of other, Sony properties like Lego The Last of Us. Why not, right? Chuck that on Switch.
Why isn't there a Lego version, Lego version of like Little Big Planet? Like that makes so much
Yeah.
sense. Do that. That'd be amazing.
Oh, bring back Little Big Planet. It
Yeah,
deserves
please.
better.
Dude, like my partner and I, this is off track. My partner and I, because I was away in Sydney, we were playing.
Off track at this podcast, never.
we started playing Little Big Planet 3 over PlayStation Network late last year. And it was right at the moment, we're about 2 weeks in, Sony's servers just had issues or something like the Little Big Planet servers had issues. And then they just cut the game off online. It's no longer online. And we're just like, we're literally like halfway through the game. We can't play this game online anymore. We're back together now, like in person, so we can play it locally. But man, that was a real rough moment to sort of finally jump in on the game right when they kill it. With like unceremoniously as well. So sad.
Yeah.
Little Big Planet. rest in peace.
I want to call out one thing with Lego Horizon, and that's the fact that their actual world is made of Lego. Like if you go and watch any of the Traveler's Tales Lego games, the Star Wars, Indiana Jones, all that shit, for years and years and years, the only Lego elements of the world were things you could interact with. The rest of the world was like regular, and it always pissed me off that it's like, oh, here's a game. We've got Lego characters in Lego cars and Lego phone booths on the side of the road, but the road is asphalt looking. It's not made of thing. Whereas this one, it's actual. The ground looks like it's just like Lego sheets laid on top of each other. I'm very happy with that. It's like one of those small things that I don't understand why it's taking this long to get it done.
Lego. Luke wants his Lego continuity. God damn it!
I want if a game's supposed to be Lego, I want it to look like fucking Lego. Plain and simple.
Alrighty. Still more to go. Jesus. There's a new Life is Strange
There's a
game
lot
coming
more
to
to go.
Switch at some point. It's coming to other platforms in October. It's called Life is Strange Double Exposure. It's being made by Deck 9 again, who did True Colors, which was
Apart from the
very
first one, Deck 9 have done them all.
Oh well, Life is Strange 2 was done by Deck 9 and Don't Know. They've both worked on that, but yeah, Deck 9 did True Colors, which is very good, and this brings back Max from the first game, and she can jump to a different timeline, and her friend's dead again, which seems like returning ground, but it's Life is Strange, so I don't
Note
mind.
to self: never become friends with Max Caulfield because you will invariably die at some point.
So yeah, as I said, it's coming to most platforms in October, and then Switch just vaguely at some point in the future. Yeah, it's just how it is. I mean, realistically, at this point, it's a Switch 2 game, right? Like, there's no way that it's coming on Switch 1. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe.
So all the other ones have always hit like PS4 and that as well, like PS4 and PS5, Xbox One, Series X. Whereas this one's not hitting those; it's just hitting PS5, Series X, PC, and Switch. It's like Switch is the outlier in this scenario. And don't be wrong, these games aren't exactly intense in their requirements, but it's a weird thing to drop last gen PlayStation and Xbox, but keep Switch.
I think they're
reckon
saying
it's-
Switch solely to like say that, hey, this is going to be on Nintendo, but we don't want to commit to it until we see what the Switch 2 is like. I think that's like the main strategy here.
I feel like the Switch 2 launch cross-platform is going to be a real hard cutoff.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be like the Xbox and PS5 where it was painfully slow at like transitioning across. I think for Switch, it's going to be very fast, just because I think it's just going to, well, hopefully a substantial upgrade.
Yeah. Speaking of other Switch games that are coming out in 2025, Civilization 7 coming day and date with the PC release. We're going to get more details in August. We haven't actually seen anything about Civ 7, so
Cannot
was that
imagine
weird
how this is
trailer?
gonna be good on Switch.
No, it's
Like-
gonna run like absolute nuts.
Yeah,
mean, as
just
it
the,
is, like,
just the
Civ
simulation
6
is just gonna burn the Switch alive. I don't
Like-
understand.
Civ games seem to run fine for like 5 turns, and then it really dies hard, like real quick.
So
well,
Civ
that's the
6,
thing. Like, yeah, go on.
Civ 6 runs fairly well on Switch, but that game is also now like 8 years old, so it's not exactly the most modern of things. And then Switch was the first console to get it, and it's like cool, but yeah, it doesn't. It's not a beefy game at any stretch of the imagination. Whereas this one definitely will be, because in between Civ 6 and Civ 7, Firaxis Games did Marvel's Midnight Suns, and they couldn't get that to work on Switch. It's like, okay, so you already abandoned one game on Switch, and you think your next gen Civ's gonna run on Switch? I'm not convinced.
I mean, it's coming in 2025.
Yeah, I suspect this is another one of those things. I think at this point, like, if there's anything that we see that's like, oh yeah, coming to all of the platforms, also Switch in 2025, I think we can just safely assume that they're like non-committal to Switch and just hoping that Switch 2 will be easy to port to. But yeah.
Also, I just want to call out to 2K for like weeks leading up to Summer Game Fest. That stupid thing Jeff does. We're like, oh, big brand IP is going to make a return, at Summer Game Fest, and everyone was like, oh, Mafia, and they started throwing out everything, and like, oh, it's Civ. It's like, really? You think Civ's a big IP that people are going to go nuts for? And don't be wrong, I know
It's
people
the
enjoy
best-selling
Civ.
one that
I know people
that
enjoy it, but it's
Firaxis
like
ever worked
the
on,
way they said it. It's like it's something we haven't seen in a long time, and it's like you keep promoting Civ on PC with new content every year. It's not exactly a game that has been away.
But Civ also got announced like a year ago. Like I remember watching
they
an announcement of it.
yeah
So,
they
like,
did say
it wasn't news.
they did say that it was in development. Now this
Yeah.
is like, hey, it's actually
Well, they put out a teaser, yeah, but like there wasn't any gameplay or anything from what I can remember. So, I mean, it's just gonna look and play like Civ. It'll just run worse on your
Yeah.
Switch.
That's it.
A couple more things. Lollipop Chainsaw Repop, which is a remaster of Lollipop Chainsaw, coming to Switch in September. First time the game has come to a Nintendo platform. Adds in effects and shit to hide the blood and gore. Story's the same, coming September 29. Does anybody actually care about Lollipop Chainsaw? Was like anybody was like, wow, I really hope this game comes to modern
Man,
platforms.
I did not care about it when it first came out. I'm like, this game looks like actual trash.
This
Sorry.
is like
That was blunt.
Lollipop
51
Chainsaw. Lollipop Chainsaw has a real mid 2000s energy about it, like big time.
Well, so I got confused because this game came out right around the same time that Zack Snyder flick came out as well, about the chick in the asylum doing like superhero stuff in space or whatever it was called. I remember what it's
Sucker
called.
Punch.
Yeah. It came out like roughly around the same time. I'm at these two things like look way too similar, and I don't really care about either of them. And the fact that it's coming out, getting like a re-release now as well, I'm just like, do people actually care about this game enough? I can't wait to read like the Kotaku and Polygon and articles all about like the depiction of women in games and stuff.
Plenty of
About this
horny
game.
nerds that are just gonna go fucking crazy about this game and fucking
Yeah,
whatever.
that's-
All the power
that's-
to you.
That's true, right?
I will say the funny thing about this one, when they announced it like a year ago, they were like being very coy about platformers and everything. And it's like, if they had said this was coming to Switch a year ago, you'd be like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. But now that they said, oh, it's coming to Switch in like 2 months, you're like, it's like, wait, really? That seems odd. It's like it's so last minute, for it to come there. So yeah,
Is this
So-
like
so-
Suda51's one of his best-selling games? Is that why it's
one of his
Speaking of
best-selling
the
games.
release.
Yeah.
yeah?
The other one is Shadow of the Damned, which already got a
Yeah.
remaster.
All right.
And
Here's
then
a total sideline for everyone. What's everyone's opinions on game remasters having their own like unique subtitle, like Repop or whatever the fuck other remaster games do?
I'm okay
I
with
mean,
it
like-
if it makes sense to the actual title. If it's just like Repop makes no sense because pop's not in the fucking name. so it makes no sense at all for me. But the one I will give credit to
Well-
is Red Faction, because it's set on Mars. They called it Remar, and they emphasized Mars.
Yeah,
Just
remastered.
remastered.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, I think the
That's the only one
repop
that I'm-
here is like a reference to the lollipop thing. I don't know. I'm guessing popping dudes is a thing. I don't know.
I think, like,
I'm stretching,
know.
really stretching here, but maybe that's what it has to
real,
do with.
real big bubble wrap content in the game.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I think like a lot of the time it's just kind of like a bit wanky, right? Like they just want to like try and sell it again, and this is another opportunity to do more marketing.
They're just puns usually, right?
But then like Nintendo like usually either just like puts HD or like remastered or DX at the end of it, and like that's fine. But then you see stuff like fucking like what is it, like Yuka Replayly or whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like,
That's exactly the one I was trying
That's
to think
like
of.
the worst
The one that,
name
like,
I think I've ever
just
seen.
Made my mind implode when I read it the other day. I was like, no, come on, man.
And
I was about to say, guys, I actually really like that one.
But at the end of the trailer for that game, they also make fun of the fact that they're doing it. And they're like, they're only doing it because her name is Laylee, and it sort of sounds like Replay. So
It's because it's Playton it being like, haha, look how self-aware we are, guys, but please God, give us some money because we don't have anything new coming out.
I just feel like I can't remember who was the first person to do it or what first game, but I feel like ever since that game did it, everyone is doing it now. Like it's
I
just
feel
constant.
I feel like it was a Leisure Suit Larry thing. I want to say it was a Leisure Suit Larry game that did it. Or
I
at
want to say
least
it was
like
maybe.
Nintendo. Super Mario Brothers
no,
All Stars.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess.
But that was like a collection
Also,
of
was like
games.
a
That wasn't
collection
just
as well,
yeah. That wasn't
No,
just
they remade them all
re-release.
for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but it was a collection as well though, so that kind of makes sense. Whereas this like Lollipop Chainsaw like it's just one game. It was a one-hit wonder.
I don't know. I feel like most people just like get the vibe, right? If you just slap remastered on it, right? Like you
Yeah.
don't need to come up with this elaborate name. I think it's less clear what Lollipop Chainsaw Repop is compared to if they just
Correct.
called it Lollipop Chainsaw Remastered, right? Like it is not immediately clear what that is, and maybe that's part of the point, right? Maybe they want to confuse people and be like, "Oh, wow, there's a new Lollipop Chainsaw game out. I liked the first one, so may as well get this new one." And then it's just the same game again.
Did the,
Yuka Replayly. There we go.
Did the Square Enix Theater Rhythm game have one as well? I think it did, right? It was maybe not. I don't remember. Okay, I'll leave it.
The one that just came out last year.
I think so. Did it?
Yeah, it was Final Bar Line was its take
Oh,
on
it
it.
was Final Bar Line. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, if we want to talk about remasters having bullshit names, let's look at the Kingdom Hearts series, because
Oh yeah,
They
that's
have,
the
like,
king.
Yeah, there you go.
1.5 HD remix and then
There we
like fucking
go.
like 0.2 fragmentary passage. Like, get out of here. It's stupid. And I like Kingdom Hearts. It's my favorite series, but
Where also then somehow messed up. They did Final Fantasy VII remake. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Then it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's like, hang on, isn't this still a remake? It's
yeah, but
expanded,
it's
of
a
course. But
rebirth.
yeah,
Well,
I don't know.
they would have. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot, right? Because absolutely, the third one would have been called Reunion because they love using that word all through Final Fantasy VII, but they've already used it for Crisis Core.
Yeah, that's why the next one's going to be called Afterbirth, because rebirth, afterbirth. You know,
Oh, I don't like
just
that.
makes sense.
No, I don't like that one.
Anyway, yeah. Speaking of DX things, there's a new.
I didn't even realize this was the next article. It's just pure happenstance.
Yeah. So, Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope DX brings all of the updates to the game, including stereoscopic 3D, all in one package. I believe it has a whole bunch of extra stuff as well.
Yeah, it's like every single cheat. There's new stages. There's new power-up options. There's literally everything they could possibly think of for the game. They're shoving into this release.
Yeah. And then there's like, there's new DLC for Shovel Knight Dig and Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. And there's a new Shovel Knight game in development, which kind of just like screams to me like Yacht Club is in need of a bit of money because, they tried doing the publishing thing for a while and it didn't really take off.
The new Shovel Knight game is 3D. Don't
So
remember
the,
that correctly.
the only tease they put out for it is the Yacht Club Games logo, and it kind of does this like pivoting thing where it looks like it's 3D but not 3D. So it's 100% going to be a 3D based game, but it's like I suspect it's going to be more like Mario 64 3D or Banjo-Kazooie 3D than anything sort of modern. So
Yeah,
Right.
I'm reading an article here, or a Reddit post, sorry, that's been copied and pasted from, I'm guessing, a press release, where it says, and for full animation, return to the world of Shovel Knight in full stereoscopic 3D. How does that work?
Nintendo 3DS had it.
Yeah, but nothing else.
But how does that like? How,
You'd
how
have to
does
have a
that look?
3D
Like, do you
enabled
have to
display.
have a 3D TV or what? Like, because who has 3D TVs these days?
I mean,
Wait,
I have
is
one
this-
in my bedroom.
You
I mean,
you
okay.
guys are forgetting Nintendo.
In other
Labo.
defense, I also still have one, but that's beside the point. But like, is that stereoscopic 3D on Switch?
I have not said.
like,
I've just said it'll have
can the Switch
stereoscopic.
even
They just said
output
it has
3D?
stereoscopic 3D.
Yeah,
they haven't
it does.
elaborated at all.
Well, yeah, Luke mentioned the Labo, but you know, you have to stick
Of
that to your
course.
face.
What am I talking about? Yeah.
Oh, EB Games are selling one that now has a head strap. It's like a $50 piece of plastic with a strap that you put your Switch in.
That's such a weird feature.
Yeah, it's super bonkers. I don't understand it.
Don't forget, in with Labo, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has Labo support, and Breath of the Wild has Labo support.
You can do Breath of the Wild in VR, which is
Yes.
dumb.
Technically, you could make a wired active shutter glasses as an accessory for the Switch, which would work. But that
Yeah.
seems insane. Like, why would you do that?
I mean, it's possible to do like active shutter. Oh my god, this is like a weird thing. Like, it's possible to do active shutter like by like alternating the perspective between like subsequent frames. So like if you had something running at 30 frames a second, and then at
Yes,
every other
but
frame you can do that.
The issue with active shutter is that it needs to sync with the display.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying it would have to somehow hook up to the console in some variety, which is just I don't know how that would do that.
Yeah,
Remember
I've looked it
for the
up,
longest-
and like everyone is just spouting the exact same points from the press release
It's
about
because
the
they haven't
stereoscopic
given
3D.
any detail.
Yeah, no one has even speculated how it's going to work.
I bet you it's just red, blue, 3D in the game, and you can just buy
Anaglyphic.
some fucking red, blue glasses, and it will just work.
I still have a pair of red blue paper glasses in my Shrek DVD case from when Shrek first launched.
I mean, you could probably buy 1,000 of them off AliExpress for like 59 cents.
Probably.
So,
I've still got mine from Spy Kids 3D.
heck yeah.
I will say it is interesting that they're doing all this now, and it's like because one of the other big things in that showcase that they put on is they said about how Shovel Knight's going into more games again. It's like they're going to Fortnite and going to For Honor, the Ubisoft, melee samurai versus knights versus Vikings bullshit. And it's like everything they showed in that showcase was just like, okay, but why? There was nothing in there was like, and even Mina, which is their brand new IP, which is being built essentially if it was on for Game Boy. Even that, they're like, oh, we don't have much to show, but here's a trailer, and then they just pissed off again. We'll show you more in the future, and it's like they're all about, hey, we've got stuff coming, but they didn't really want to show anything. It just seems like a weird way to talk about your games.
But we've been talking for half an hour and we haven't even gotten to the direct yet. So let's actually get into the direct.
Sure, I put the most important one at the top of the list because I'm like,
yeah. So I mean, by the looks of this list, it's going to start off really good, and then it's just going to devolve into the stuff that we don't really want to talk about. So
Yeah, this list is wildly like unbalanced.
it's also not everything. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't put on the list.
yeah, there is. Yeah, there were like 40 new games shown during the direct, which was just wild. Anyway, the headliner, which was actually the closer of the direct, is Metroid Prime 4. They actually showed it off.
Oh my god.
So yeah, they actually showed off Metroid Prime 4. It's officially called Metroid Prime 4: Beyond.
colon beyond. You had to add the colon in there.
Yeah, you got. I don't want to. People need to know that there's a colon there.
A colon too
The colon
far.
is because it's gonna be shit. It looks good.
So the game is confirmed to be for Switch, and despite what people have been saying on social media, it is not a Switch 2 game. It does not look like a Switch 2 game. It looks like Metroid Prime Remastered. So like,
Yeah,
Can't
I don't
wish
know why people immediately speculated that this is running on Switch 2, because I was like,
oh, we've seen it for
God,
like
I
2
hope
years
not,
now.
because I want Switch 2 to be better than this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have to agree.
we've seen people for like 2 years being like, oh yeah, this looks way too good for Switch, and then like it's Switch.
Like, don't get me wrong,
And-
it looks good. Like, I'm not disappointed by what it looks like at all, but like, I want Switch 2 to be better.
Yeah. So yeah, it's coming out at some point in 2025, and we got a very brief in-engine look at it, and gameplay, I guess, as well. I don't know how much of that was like actual gameplay or just like scripted stuff that looks a hell of a lot like gameplay, but either way,
I suspect it's gameplay, but I suspect it's like very heavily customized gameplay. I do think it's funny though, the number of people that were like, oh, what's this game? And it's Metroid, man. And it's like, it doesn't, like, is this Metroid 2 remastered? I'm thinking, no, it doesn't look like fucking Prime 2. Prime 2 had a dichotomy of, light and darkness. It has nothing like that. But then people were like, oh, who's that guy at the end of the trailer? He looks weird. And it's like, yeah, he's from Hunters. Like, there's all these things.
But nobody played Hunters.
I played Hunters, but I will say though, I did.
Dude, I played Hunters and I completely forgot who the hell this guy was.
He was like literally only in
this was a
Hunters.
remaster of Metroid Other M, because the ship design didn't like look familiar to me straight away. So I initially thought it was Other M remastered, and I was like, of course they do that to us. We want Metroid, so they give us like a remaster of the game nobody likes.
I swear to God, if we got Other M remastered before Wind Waker HD, I will burn down everything.
Oh, I kind of wish that had happened now.
See how I got to that point? Because it'd be the Nintendo thing to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm a bit of an Other M apologist. I don't hate that game. Like the
I'm
dialogue
whatever.
is,
I just don't care about it.
the dialogue is hot trash, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is actually kind of fun.
The gameplay is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think it's a
exactly.
really good like 2.5D approach to Metroid. Like it's
I played
really
a bit
good.
of it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm like, this is fine. This is actually playable and fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they
Dialogue and story.
when they showed Silex at the end, I had to jump onto Twitter and like, because this guy looks familiar. Like he was either in Corruption or Hunters or something, but I don't know who he is. And like all the Metroid sickos just went absolutely off. I'm like, I didn't even know that people like are this hardcore about Prime Hunters, but apparently there's like at least a dozen people out there who are, which is
And
bananas
Fed
to me.
Force.
And
All the Fed Force psychos.
I never played Fed Force, so I forget that game
I saw
exists.
some Twitter comments of people saying, oh, this looks like a GameCube game. And I'm like, you do not remember what GameCube games look like, my friend. You are insane if you think this looks like a GameCube game.
Yeah. But no, I mean I think it looks good. I have yet to finish Metroid Prime 1 remastered, so I should probably do that at some point, and then play Metroid Prime 2 and 3, and probably Hunters, I guess, now as well. So
Someone will put a 3-hour recap video of all the
Yeah,
games
probably.
prior to this coming out.
Literally half the game, man, is just like exiting a planet that you have to do like within 2 minutes or something, or the planet blows up, and then you exit and the planet doesn't blow up anyway, and you're like, cool, I just stressed out for half an hour trying to beat this damn level.
The only games you really need to worry about story-wise would be Hunters and 3. Prime 1 and 2, their overarching story isn't that big in the grand scheme of the Prime series. So, and of course, we're also forgetting the other Prime game that everyone always forgets, and that's Metroid Prime Pinball.
it did actually have story. Like there's actual lore in Metroid Prime Pinball.
That's what I mean. Everyone forgets about that one. I mean, they forget about Hunters for the most part too, but Prime
I love
Pinball
that,
is
It's like the next
forgotten.
trailer, and it's like, wow, the bumpers from Metroid Prime Pinball are back, and like sickos lose their mind about it.
It's just funny because like at the end of this teaser, like Silex shows up and he's got Metroids floating behind him, and I love like basically every Metroid game always starts off with like hey, by the way, every Metroid has been killed and there are no Metroids left in existence.
This is the
And then,
last
like-
Metroid in captivity.
And then in 10 minutes, they're like, God
galaxy
damn,
is at peace.
everything goes to shit because a Metroid wrecked everything. It's like, where the hell are these things coming from? Why do they?
They are
Does anyone think that
literally
they're
the
dead?
rabbits of the galaxy. I
just so
don't
funny.
know if anyone cares or who has played through Dread, but the Metroids are all gone in their normal form, but there is a Metroid still in the galaxy by the end of the
Oh,
game.
don't spoil it for me, Luke.
There is
I
a
do
Metroid
like
still
that,
in the
like
galaxy,
having the Metroids behind Psylocke at that end shot really makes him look like Samus
Yeah.
with her shoulder pads.
I mean, that's kind of the
It's a
point, right?
nice,
Is that
yeah,
he's
no,
supposed
totally.
to be
I'm
like
assuming that's the point. This is like a
anti-Samus
year
kind
10
of
English
thing.
class, like analyzing a book at this point. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
No.
It looks like a Metroid Prime game. It's got space pirates in it. It's got some Metroids in it. It's got Samus's arm cannon in it. Like, this is exactly what I wanted out of a Metroid Prime game. It looks like a Metroid Prime.
imagine they released Metroid Prime 4, but she doesn't have an arm cannon. She just has a
Well,
normal
yeah,
pistol.
just- yeah. I mean, like, I think my issue with like the Prime series now, having played Dread, is that like there's
Wait,
only
what?
so many things. Having played Dread, right? There's only so
Yeah.
many things that you can like do with Metroid Prime, right? Because it's set before what, like Super Metroid, right?
Yeah.
After 2 and before Super. So like the story is like story capabilities are quite limited because you can't do anything huge because it needs to lead into
Yeah,
Super
this is the
Metroid.
trouble with all prequels to things. That
Yeah.
they
But
sort of
well,
write
that's the
themselves
point that I
into
was
a corner.
making. Is like literally like in 1994, they're like, oh, we're just gonna kill off every Metroid in existence, and then like they've had to release like 10 games after that, being like, oh god, we got to figure out how to bring the Metroids back now. Like,
like,
Prequels never work in any medium, and the best example I'll ever give you for that is Smallville. Every time they put Clark Kent in danger in Smallville, I was like, of course he's fine. He's fucking Superman. You can't put
I
Superman
think that's
in
also
danger.
just a Superman problem in general, really.
yeah,
No, but
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, but he's a teenager. Will he survive this tornado? And it's like, of course he's gonna fucking survive. He's Superman. So yeah, prequels just never work in any medium. They never work.
But yeah, no, I think I don't know. I'm so much more interested in what happens after Dread than I am in what happens for Super Metroid. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather a Metroid Prime game that is
Well, the-
set in, post Dread world.
the problem is that
Nothing's
it's,
stopping them from doing that. Is the
True.
choice they made.
well, except for the title, like it's called Metroid. That's the problem. Like, it's literally named after the antagonist of the entire series that they killed off
Yeah.
30 years ago. Like, they have to
It's
keep coming
also
back to these damn
got
things.
Beyond in the title, so maybe somebody's making their own genetically modified Metroids in a lab.
No, Luke,
I
it's
mean,
called
that-
Beyond.
Logo is very black hole reminiscent, so I guess we'll see where this goes.
I mean, it would be. I don't know. There was like talk of like in the new Mass Effect game that's coming out, that like there might be a black hole connecting the Andromeda universe and the original Mass Effect universe, which would be an interesting idea. But I think that's a more interesting idea in Metroid, right? Where like the Prime stuff could cross over into like post Dread stuff because black holes and shit. But
Because black holes and shit.
That's where that colon comes in.
That's the colon.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of time travel and stuff anymore. Time travel and multiverses in sci-fi are just way too tired, and it's just such a lazy way to try to fix the problems that they've created for themselves. Like, just get past, just move away from things. Like, go forward. Like with Star Wars as well. Like, stop trying to return to the Skywalkers and stop trying to go into the past. Like, just move forward, move away, do something completely different with the series.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, yeah. So that's coming out in
So
2025.
we sound like downers. I assure you, I don't know if I speak for everyone here, but like, we're very excited for.
No,
Yeah,
fuck
I mean,
this
the-
game.
There was a reason why last year all four of us put this as our number one prediction that we'd see Metroid
Yeah,
Prime
And
4. So,
one of us put it this year.
Yeah. Going off our predictions, Michael is the first person to get a point.
And looking at our predictions, probably the last person to get a point too.
Yeah, totally. Because my other ones are basically just memes. So
Yeah. Alrighty. Next big story. There's a new Zelda game. We actually play as Zelda.
Let's go.
So yeah, it's called The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, and you play as Zelda as the protagonist in this cute little like Link's Awakening style world. Uses the same art style as the Link's Awakening remake, which is good because that looked gorgeous. We don't know if they're related, but I don't think anybody really gives a shit about the timeline at this stage anyway.
The Zelda timeline's even more fucked up than the Metroid timeline, so I don't think.
I don't think anyone in this chat cares about the timeline, but
Yeah.
there are so many people that give a shit about the timeline.
Yep.
Who cares? Anyway, so the gameplay loop seems to be that you can basically any object or enemy in the world, you can create a copy of it. So you basically like scan it into your wand, and then you can create a copy of it. So you see a chair, and you can just be like, "Hey, I want that chair somewhere else. I want 3 of those chairs, and stack them up to make a bridge." Like that's what you do, and you can like do enemies and stuff. It doesn't seem to have any like sort of traditional like swing your sword combat kind of stuff, but it does seem like you can use enemies and items in interesting ways. We saw that like you could recreate a rock and then pick it up and throw it at an enemy. So
It's like
there
a
is
Zelda
combat.
adventure puzzle game, which
Yeah.
I'm fucking down for.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
basically just like a top-down Zelda game, but like it's all of the like environmental puzzling stuff from Zelda dungeons everywhere. So yeah, it looks really, really good. And this is like, the first 2D top-down Zelda game that we've gotten since A Link Between Worlds, which is very exciting.
You mean a
'cause
brand
it
new
kinda
one?
seemed like- yeah.
Yeah.
Because it sort of seemed like we weren't really going to get those anymore now that we moved to the single platform. Because it used to be like handhelds and main series. So yeah, it's exciting that we're getting this, and it looks really, really good. And you can finally play as Zelda in an RPG that isn't dog shit. So yeah, what do we think about this beyond what we've already said?
I'm down with it. I'll play this.
I'm super into it, man. Like, this looks amazing. I loved Link's Awakening.
Totally.
I loved the art style so much. And the fact that, like, yeah, they're bringing it back for this, and it's an original game as well. Like, oh, it's so good. So good. I'm always excited for a new Zelda game that I know nothing about.
Totally. I asked for a game that wasn't like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, and I got it. So I'm not going to complain. I'll 100% play this.
Yeah.
For sure.
Should have put it in your predictions, Michael. You'd be like,
Yeah, should
2
have.
right now.
He didn't have room with
Yeah, I think-
the other Zelda games he was predicting.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm very interested to see how quickly someone is going to break this game. Because one of the
Oh,
clips, which is-
immediately. Day
No,
one.
but one of the clips that they're showing in the trailer, which people will be watching in the video, is that it has Zelda literally walking on treetops. And obviously, since A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, when you saw those trees, you could never walk on them. So now, you can make your own path to get up to them. It's like, so all these roadblocks they've put in the way before, like signs and boulders, you needed equipment to get past. None of that now matters. It's like, okay, so
Well, so something that one of my coworkers pointed out to me, and I'm sure other people have noticed it as well, is that like that little guy that follows you around, the little sprite guy called
try.
They have like triangles floating above them, like 3 triangles, like the Triforce, and that's actually a visual representation of how many things that you can spawn. So you'll see like when she summons like a monster or whatever, all 3 of those are gone. But like summoning a chair or a bed or whatever only takes up 1. So it does seem like different items and different monsters and stuff like that is going to take up different things. Like use
I
different
think
amount
you
of
can
resources,
expand
I
it
guess.
as well, because part of the
Yeah.
video they have more than 3 sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, you have a gigantic trail of triangles at some point.
And in one of the clips, when the guy that screams in Ocarina of Time, the mummy thing, I can't think of its name. But when it's in the trail, it's got 3 of those things above its head to indicate it takes 3 to summon it. And I'm okay with that. But again, it's like people are going to find ways to,
Well, I think it's an
not
interesting
exploit,
way to like gate exploration and like gate the rest of the game world by not offering like any new abilities, but offering more use of the same abilities, if that is how it works.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like
if
anywhere-
if there are like places you can get with the 3 triangles, right, but not, and like places you can't get with only 3 triangles, and then you get like a couple more triangles, and you can then like spawn more beds or whatever, and that lets you go to more places, which is a really interesting idea. I think we'll have to see how it plays out in the actual game.
I think anywhere they don't really want you to go, they'll just block off with that purple void thing that's going on.
Yeah,
and it'll just be impassable. So,
How do we feel
But,
about the
yeah.
title, though, lads? Legend of Zelda.
I think it's good. I mean,
See, I'd have laughed my
Okay.
ass off if it was called The Legend of Link,
Yeah, I think that would have been
Just-
great. It would have been perfect.
just to do it. But this is the first official game that Zelda's the star of, and obviously you could play Zelda in the Hyrule Warriors series, but that was a whole cacophony of characters, that one. So, and we don't talk about the CDI games, so it's weird that it's taken this long. And I will say this: I'm happy that it's done, so now people can shut up about it. Because the number of conversations over the years about this, it's like, cool, yeah, they're finally doing it. Let's move on.
I mean,
Well,
I
but-
do wish it had been in like one of the, the big flagship games, right? Like, there's no
Yeah.
real reason that they couldn't have had some kind of playable Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
So like,
Yeah.
that would have been nice to do. But like the fact that she is getting her own game, but like it feels a little bit like Princess Peach Showtimey, in that like this is a side game. This isn't the main thing, which is a little bit annoying. But I mean, it looks like a fucking incredible game, so
Well, so
I'm willing to give it a pass.
in a sense, I agree with what you're saying there, Ollie. But also, like, I also appreciate that this does seem to be a direct sequel, somewhat of a direct sequel to Link's Awakening as well, like with the art style and the world and everything like that. So I hope it is a canon sequel, even though we don't care about the timeline or anything. But like to what you're saying there, Luke, about people, finally getting what they've been asking for years. I think the issue now is that like they've set a precedent here, and they need to make more of these. Like they need to have more Zelda games that star Zelda as the main character. That's the thing. And what I appreciate about this most is that it is a Zelda game where you play as Zelda, but apart from the fact that Link isn't the starring character, like everything else about the game still looks the same. Like it still looks like a Legend of Zelda game that we would expect. It still has a great looking overworld, still has the same enemies. We're bringing back things like Redeads or Redeads, however you pronounce it, the zombies from Ocarina of Time. All these other sort of obstacles that Link would typically have as a hero, Zelda is also going to overcome as a hero as well in her own right. So I think that's really, really exciting. Unlike the Princess Peach games, where to her credit, like they do, well, to their credit with Nintendo, they do make her own original games and stuff, but they don't make, at least I feel like they don't make her as capable of a heroine as Mario is, because they don't give her similar sorts of challenges or anything like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at like Showtime, and like there aren't any like traditional Mario enemies, or anything really that show like you could drop any other character into that main Peach role, and it would not be out of place. Like there's nothing that is identifiably
Well,
Mario.
I don't think
in
you
that
could
game.
put Tingle in that role.
Well, no, but
Tingle
like I'm saying, like
Showtime
you
would
could,
be
you
a-
could replace Peach with like literally any like woman, right? Just a
Yeah.
random ass woman, like the Wii Fit trainer blank woman template, and it would not dramatically change the game. She wouldn't feel out of place because it's not really a Princess Peach game. It's a game that features Princess Peach, whereas this is very much a Princess Zelda game, and I think that is a much better approach.
And I also like the subtitle as well, Echoes of Wisdom, because typically Zelda does have the Triforce of Wisdom as well. So it kind of reflects that as well. So it really does cement her as an important character in The Legend of Zelda, despite the fact that it's named after her, but she never actually features as a prominent enough character. She's not even in some of the games. So,
Yeah. I think it's like, I don't know, the fact that what you're summoning is echoes as well is like a funny kind of like
yeah.
naming thing that they've done. Like it's a clever name. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, I think this is going to generally be a really good game. I really can't wait to play it. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I also had a
Also,
thought,
like,
too, Angelo,
of-
about your timeline scenario. What if this takes place after Link returns to Hyrule after his adventures in Link's Awakening? So he wakes up, and he returns to Hyrule and finds Ganon doing all this stuff.
What do you mean?
So the end of Link's Awakening, he was dreaming it all, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if he finally gets back to Hyrule, finally crosses the ocean, and then Ganon's there, and that's the start of the game. Connects it that way.
I mean, that's what I would have expected. Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Isn't that what's going to happen? Isn't that what we're expecting?
No, but that's what I'm saying. In terms of connecting them up, what if it's literally he's woken up at the end of the last game, and now the start of this game is he makes his way back to the Hyrule, and then this all happens.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm kind of hoping is the case. He'll just get back, and then he'll get caught in the goo, and then Zelda is the main character.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see, I guess. I don't think it'll really make any like strong allusions to any other game.
No.
Like, I think it's probably just going to be a largely self-contained thing that is not super clear in the timeline. And I think that's good because the timeline's dumb. So, yeah. It'll be like vaguely related to Link's Awakening and the Oracle games, but beyond that, like, doesn't really matter. Michael, any last minute thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom?
That looks sick. Bring it out. It comes out when? September 24th? Is that right?
September 26th.
Ah, so close. Can't wait.
All right. Another new announcement from Nintendo, an actual new game too. There is a new Mario and Luigi game called Mario and Luigi Brothership. So it's coming out in November 7. And you explore the world of Concordia via ship-shaped island. A ship-shaped island. Good lord. You're trying to like kill me here, Luke.
That's literally what it is. I can't make that simpler.
The enemies are sort of variations of like power chords and sockets. But there's also like, we see other characters that are like recognizably Mario-ish. And they do actually seem to have like different designs and stuff as well. So whatever this like Mario mandate that people think exists is, then that's not there anymore. You can actually have customized like Koopas and shit now. We don't actually know who's making this, which is a bit of a trend with Nintendo lately. Because it's certainly not Alpha Dream, because Alpha Dream shut down. So, yeah. Anyway, it looks great. I think the animation that we saw in the trailer is like super expressive and nice. It kind of makes me think that Next Level Games is making it because it has like a very Luigi's Mansion animation style vibe to it.
There's a lot of like Mario Strikers over the topness to it as well.
Yeah.
Well, from the animation style, like I'm getting a lot of sort of 1930s and 40s cartoon rubber hose kind of style, where like everyone's stretching and doing very over the top expressions with their faces and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm totally into this.
It's also got that that comic shading as well on everything, where like it's like Mario's shadows are blue to contrast with the rest. Yeah, it looks really cool. It's really nice.
I think that's because it's supposed to look kind of similar to the GBA games, right? The GBA Mario and Luigi games.
I will say though, I think this name is stupid.
I think it's great.
Really? I think it's awesome.
I don't know. I do not. Brothership is not just. Doesn't just roll off the tongue. Like if you say Mario and Luigi Brothership, it just doesn't make sense to me.
I love it.
But,
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to play it. Any Mario RPG game is usually kind of good. So yeah, this also looks good.
And the music goes off in this trailer as well. I'm looking forward to listening to more of the soundtrack.
I will say too,
like,
the number of people that were like, "Oh, is this a remake?" And it's like, I'm like, a lot of people said that, and it's the first time you hear Mario and it's the new Mario voice. I'm like, oh, it's not a remake. But it's like, at any point, why would they remake a game in a series that hasn't traditionally been a big seller for them?
Well, so this is the funny thing, and I think you've sort of mentioned this a few times, with like some of the older games now getting like more recent sequels and stuff, like, is this a remake, or asking questions about whether characters have existed in series before. We're at a point now where like a lot of these games are like decades old, and we're getting a lot of like 21, 22, 23-year-olds who have never played the Game Boy Advance games, who, their first system was probably either, the Switch when they were like 8 or 9, or like very late, or mid life cycle 3DS or something like that, who never played any of these games whatsoever. So there's a lot
Just
to
made
have
me
missed
feel
out.
very fucking old.
I know. Well, so this is my I'm
Newsflash, we're all fucking old.
well, so this is something that I'm hyper aware of after having taught for so many years, right? Is that like almost anything I ever talked about that was of interest to me, like the kids had nothing, they had no point of reference for it because they were so young and they were born like 2005 by the time I was teaching them. So yeah, like it's just a huge what's the word that I'm looking for? Huge generational gap. That's it in gaming. So yeah, I think it's valid that some people wouldn't know that if this is a remake or not. But yeah.
Oh no, the people who I saw saying is this a remake were, diehard Nintendo fans. The people that have like tattoos of Nintendo characters, like they were the ones questioning it. I'm like, okay.
Also can't expect everyone to know every single thing. Like, you
Yeah.
look at this, and the game hasn't released in like 1,000 years. What is it, the first Mario and Luigi in 9 years?
That's
Yeah.
the thing, right? Yeah.
It's transcending platforms as well. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
I was going to say on the music, all of the other Mario and Luigi games have had Yoko Shimomura as the composer, who also did Kingdom Hearts, some Final Fantasy stuff, and Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. He was involved with that too, and it does kind of sound a bit like Yoko Shimomura in the trailer. So I expect that's probably the case here as well.
Do something else recently as well.
I know she worked on like all of the like the remasters and shit of previous games as well.
Oh, Mario
Like
RPG.
Super Mario RPG, yeah.
Yeah, that's why
it's
that
funny that
name's floating in my head.
It's funny that you say it sounds like Yoko Shimomura because it sounds nothing like any of those games that you mentioned.
I mean, have you like heard the soundtracks from the original Mario and Luigi games? Like, she has a very different. Like,
I've
very
heard
distinct style
some
with her different.
It just sounds like regular upbeat sort of Mario music. Like I would expect this to be in Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It does sound. It's not like exactly what I would expect from Yoko Shimomura, but I don't know. It definitely has like little bits and pieces that sound like her, but I could just be like referencing past Mario and Luigi things as well. So yeah. Either way,
I just want to
super keen.
point out
for
as
it.
well, your little definitely not a pig buddy being called Snoutlet is a 10 out of 10 name. And I'm here for it. And I will die for this not pig.
With a little plug hat. Yeah.
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 It's perfect.
And the enemies that are called the Extension Core. Chef kiss.
Yeah.
This is the one thing the Mario, especially like the Paper Mario games, have always done is they've always had like really
It's
cool
so
names.
good. 100%. They're so creative.
Anyway, another first party thing. There's a couple more first party things. But we'll just talk about this one because it's kind of silly and dumb, and I don't know why it exists, but sure, let's get into it. Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yeah, boy.
HP. It's just Donkey Kong Country Returns again, but on the Switch. Curiously, this is being done by Forever Entertainment, which previously did Panzer Dragoon, The House of the Dead, and the very kind of shit Front Mission remasters, which, obviously they're a bit mixed on those. But it's coming out in January 16, 2025. It sure looks like Donkey Kong Country Returns. I don't know what else there is to say about it, because it's literally just like, the 3DS version, but, HD. Which, sure.
I'm down for this. I
mean,
love
like-
Donkey Kong Country Returns.
It's a good game. I honestly, I don't know. It's a good game, but I think, because of how good every other Donkey Kong Country game is, it's the worst of the Donkey Kong Country games.
I think the reason why the Wii version was the worst is because they shoehorned motion control into it, and you had to do everything with motion control. You couldn't just, press a button to roll. You had to do the whole, all that crap. And I think that's what is throwing people off. So I think with them dropping
not
that,
anymore, right?
hopefully,
Right, guys?
Well, I don't remember doing that with the 3DS, so just fucking
No.
throwing the thing in my hands.
But with this now being hopefully button driven, it should make it play a lot smoother. Because that was the biggest problem that I had with the Wii version. Is the levels were great, but they shoehorned motion into it because it was on the Wii, and it just didn't feel right to me.
I mean, if you enjoy Donkey Kong games, you'll enjoy this.
Yeah. But at the same time, this also should have come out like 5 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like,
yeah,
this being on the Switch makes so much sense to me, especially after having Tropical Freeze, which is a sequel to this basically. So the fact that this wasn't on the Switch for the longest time is what confuses me more than the fact that it's getting a remaster.
Yeah,
or a re-release.
It very much feels like we need content, so people don't think that we're sleeping on our IPs. So
if only they had more Wii and
over
Wii U
the-
games to bring out, man. Like, what's going on?
I can't imagine any other Wii U games that are stuck on Wii U that could
Like,
really. Oh my god!
They're just at the bottom of the barrel,
with
being
anger.
like, they just really bring it, like scraping out the wood chips at this point. Like, what else could they bring out, Michael?
Nintendo Land.
It
You
just-
keep forgetting about Nintendo Land.
It just makes me so sad every time we talk about it that Wind Waker, which I love, like I really, really do love as a Zelda game. Like it has issues for sure, but whatever, I enjoy it. Both versions of the game have been stuck on the lowest selling Nintendo consoles. Like people just haven't had the opportunity to play it, at least legally. And I'm just like, just bring it out.
Yeah. Well, look, we can only hope that Switch 2 absolutely bombs and then it gets a re-release there. So, I mean, they're due for it, right? Like, they had a hit with the Switch.
Yeah,
Like,
the TikTok cycle's real.
Next console is their downturn.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, that's coming out January 16, 2025. I'll probably buy it despite having played it twice already. Just because Donkey Kong's good. And I figure if I buy it, maybe they'll make a new one after 21 years or whatever. Well, I mean, not really, but
and then everyone will ask Luke if it's a remake or not.
That's it. Considering Retro made Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in 2014 for Wii U, then ported it to Switch like 4 years later, and haven't made a single game apart from Metroid Prime 4 in all that time. It's like I wouldn't bank on them making another Donkey Kong Country anytime soon, Ollie. We'll be on Switch 3 by the time they get around to it.
Yeah, but like it's not as if Nintendo doesn't have like a trillion development partners that they can go to for a new Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, I mean, they're also not known for reaching out to third parties and other studios.
I mean, you say that, but
IP.
like that's been a huge thing this generation, is that a lot of stuff has been made by third parties.
man.
Especially in terms of like
Hyrule Warriors.
Well, yeah, but yeah, no, there's been a lot of stuff that sort of has been, and even like we saw the like Famicom Detective Club remakes. They were done by an outside studio. All of the remasters that we've gotten of all these other games have all been done by outside parties. Bandai Namco has made quite a few games for Nintendo, including Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and new Pokemon Snap. So yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot more of it lately. So I think we're going to see more of that in the generation going forward. But
we'll see.
Yeah. Alrighty. Dragon Quest 3, one of my favorite Dragon Quest games, is getting an HD 2D remake, as we knew like 3 years ago, and then they never really said anything more about it. It's actually coming out November 14. So it is it's the first chronological game in the Erdrick trilogy. So it's like the first game chronologically in the entire Dragon Quest series.
Because heaven forbid a Japanese role-playing game should be in a fucking decent timeline order.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, it's coming out. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and Dragon Quest 1 and 2 are also getting the HD 2D treatment, which is like fine. It's whatever. Those two games are very simple, and like all of the assets that are in Dragon Quest 3 will be reusable for Dragon Quest 1 and 2, so it makes sense to do it. But I think it's like the best HD 2D has ever really looked. I think
it looks
looks
really, really
a
nice.
huge step up from like previous
Beautiful.
things we've seen. So yeah, very, very excited for that one. It's coming to other things as well, but you know, play it on Switch because
What I find funny
More.
about this is the developer is Spike Chunsoft.
Yeah.
And then one of their last games they did was Detective Club, Raincoat Detective, whatever it was for Switch.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between the two is just astronomical.
I don't mean to alarm you here, Luke, but you earlier in the episode you said that prequels are never better than their counterparts. But I'm sorry to say that according to Metacritic, Dragon Quest 3 has a 71, whereas the first and second games are 63 and 60 respectively.
Cool. That's
just
probably
the
because
number.
nobody knew this was a prequel when it first came out.
Well, yeah, probably because it was in Japanese and no one could read it. No, that's not true.
All right, on your soundboard, you need to put in the "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him" sound clip. And put,
I got something
future
similar. Hold on,
podcasts.
here we go.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so Dragon Quest 3 is a very good game. And from what we know from the press releases and stuff, they're bringing a lot of features that were in subsequent Dragon Quest games into this one. So there's like the auto battle of your party members. If you don't want to do that, you can also speed up battles, which is good because there's a lot of random battles in Dragon Quest 3. I suspect they've also changed like the pacing and the like the level up curve and all of that stuff as well. So it'll be good to be able to play because like 1 to 3 are already like playable on Switch. You can just buy them for like $7 and play them, but like they're really kind of rough because
The first one was even
These are-
free, I think, for a very short period, right?
it was for a little while, yeah.
Yeah.
And then yeah, they're really rough games, like they're NES games, and they show it. So yeah, having these be up to scratch is good.
If I was president of video games, I would absolutely have it mandated, written into stone, that every 2D RPG like would be converted into like beautiful faux 2.5D, whatever you want to call it here. Because these games are absolutely gorgeous. I love the way that these look. Yeah.
Well, see,
I
that's
think
the thing,
there's
right? Is that like
plenty of the gaming community that would ask for your assassination as gaming president, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't last a minute.
see, like the thing is, right? Like I've always said, because people always say like, oh, Chrono Trigger would be fantastic for a remake in HD 2D. But like up until I saw this new footage, I did not think that was the case. I thought it would be kind of a waste of Chrono Trigger's really strong art style. Seeing this, I think it could be pulled off. I think it's possible to do that. But like from Octopath Traveler and stuff like that, I don't think it would have really worked. But yeah, now I mean, I don't 100% agree with you, Angelo, but I mean, as many 2D games as possible into that art style would be nice.
I mean, the good ones. Just say the good ones should.
No, man, even the bad ones. Let's bring everyone along.
All of them.
I'm not gonna
Spend billions of dollars converting every 2D game to 2D
Yeah, man.
HD.
Look, let's just put a pause on cures for cancer and all that kind of junk. Let's just focus everything on converting 2D RPGs.
Alrighty. So more stuff on Nintendo Switch Online. I sort of mentioned this earlier. We've got a couple games. 3 games? 4 games? Right, 4 games. We have Four Swords, Legend of Zelda Four Swords, and Metroid Zero Mission on the GBA app now, which is good. Previously, the only way to, well, before the 3DS online shutdown at least, the only way to play Four Swords was on the 3DS. It was Ambassador exclusive, kind of. There were other ways to get it. And not just like illegal ways, there were other ways to get it. But the 3DS version was like real rough. It had crashing issues and stuff, and you know, this one is better. So yeah, obviously you can play it online as you would with Four Swords. Zero Mission doesn't have online stuff, so no issue there. But on the N64, we also have Perfect Dark and Turok. Now, Perfect Dark is the third Microsoft-owned game to come to the service. Obviously supports online play as well. It has some issues at the moment, as has been discussed. Really unfortunate issues that kind of make some parts unplayable, but they will almost certainly get fixed, somewhat soon, because that is usually how it goes. But Perfect Dark and Turok are in the new mature N64 app, which is a little bit weird, but you kind of can get it, right? Like, there's no point raising the rating of the app as a whole to 17 plus in whatever countries have that, just to have Perfect Dark and Turok. So having the separate app makes sense. It's just a little bit of a clunky way to do it.
I love it, man. I love the fact that Nintendo is now releasing adult-only games. This is perfect.
This is surely a precursor to Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Oh, let's hope.
That's the real reason you have a mature app, because I feel like you could sort of get away with the rest of them being in the app because they're they're a little bit violent, whatever. Conker's Bad Fur Day, I don't think you'd get away being in the normal app.
Let's go.
I do love that Turok is in the app, and Turok got remastered for Switch already. And Night
that was a
Studios.
weird one.
I think we mentioned this on a previous podcast when we're talking about games coming to the service, and we're all like, "Oh yeah, Turok probably won't come because
because it got remastered."
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Then here we are.
And what's funny is Night Dive Studios own the IP, the game IP for Turok. So they're the ones. If you go into the app listings, Night Dive Studios are the copyright owners of it. So they've released the remaster themselves, and then they approved this to be put in the app.
Yeah, I think it was more the new corporate owners approving this being in the app, because I'm sure Atari needs the money. So,
well, I haven't played either releases of this of Turok. Do they play differently? Is one jankier than the other?
I think the remaster version just has higher res assets, more modern controls, and is widescreen. I don't think there's any drastic gameplay changes.
There's one. They dropped the fog quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's the main thing
The
that I was
frame
wondering
rate
about.
is, not N64.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, but
So what
I
we're
think
getting
you're
is the
playing
Wish.com version here at no extra cost.
no, we're
Pretty
getting
much.
the historically significant version.
Yeah, the historically accurate one. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But yeah, I have seen some people complaining that if you download the mature N64 app, it's only those two games, right? It's not all of the other ones. But I mean, I think it's a very Nintendo solution to the problem, right? Where
Your Nintendo problem that they created, yeah.
well, I mean, it's not really a problem they created. It's just how ratings work, right? If you were a parent, right, and you had a one Switch household, and your kids wanted to play N64 games, and you also wanted to play, Turok.
Yeah, no, I
on
understand how
Switch.
ratings work, but the solution that anyone else would have come to was that they would just have those rating solutions in the app. You would just lock them out within the app.
Okay,
itself.
but that you cannot have the app. That's what I'm saying, right? Is that if a child account is going to use the N64 app, adding these to the app through DLC or whatever, they would not be able to access it anymore. The entire app would just then be gated off to the child.
But that's what I'm saying is that there would be workarounds to that. The games themselves would be parentally locked rather than the entire app
There'd
itself.
be workarounds, but Nintendo just went for the quickest solution.
That's what I'm saying. Is literally it's a problem that they created. Anyone else would have had the foresight
what I'm
to
saying
fix this.
is it's not a problem that they created. That's what I'm saying is when an SKU is sold on a digital store, it's the highest rating of whatever that is in the collection. So there's no locking it off per game in the app. That can't happen legally through the ESRB. It's just not an option. So this is Nintendo working the most elegant solution to the problem that they're faced with. And it's not a Nintendo problem, it's how the ESRB works. And every game developer kind of has to play with those rules. It would be the same thing as ultimately they could have just offered the apps separately. They could have. and that's how every other platform gets around it, because there's no other like combined collection, right? When you load up retro games on, the PS5, you don't go into one single app or whatever. They're just all separate. But in this case, it is an instance where they kind of had to do that. And you could have all of the other games in there, but then you're kind of downloading all of the same games twice. So it's just, this was the easiest way to do it. And I think, it's a fine way to do it, really.
Doesn't bother me that they've done it this way. It's just one of those things where I just don't. I'm okay with it, but at the same time, it's like if they had have done something so it was in the main app, I'd have been fine with it too. 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, it just wasn't really so much of an option.
No.
Mario Party. There's more Mario Party. That's fun. So I guess it's a sequel to Super Mario Party because it's called Super Mario Party Jamboree. It's coming out on Switch in October. It has 110 minigames, 7 boards, of which 5 are new and 2 are remastered. And there's like a 20-player online elimination mode called Hoopathlon, which is kind of fun. Anyway, it looks great. You get to play as Birdo, which is good. It was missing from
You get to
Super
play as a
Mario
lot
Party,
of
so-
additional characters. It's not just the same 6 main Mario characters. You can play as like Ninja now, which is kind of insane.
So is Mario Party and Super Mario Party separate franchises now? Like what's happening?
I think they are. I think that's how it works. Because Mario Party Superstars, that wasn't called Super Mario Party Superstars.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
so
Like, is it a
I
different
guess they're
thing
separate.
somehow?
Is Super Mario Party the good one now?
I mean, we'll see with this game.
I think Super Mario Party was the bad one.
Was it? I
All
don't
Stars
even
was,
remember.
yeah, the superior, better, like much better, at least in my opinion. But I guess we'll see.
I will just point out the fact that they've gone ahead and created an entirely new game rather than DLC for their existing game is such a Nintendo move.
100%.
Like we
like,
just
these
saw
sell
them
like
do 2
hotcakes,
years
though.
worth of DLC for Mario Kart years after it released. But their solution for more Mario Party content was to make an entirely new game and not just DLC.
Not
Because the
defending
conversion
Nintendo.
rate for DLC is tiny.
Yeah, I was about to say, not defending Nintendo in the slightest, but yeah, 100%. A separate game will sell considerably more than a DLC.
And it's a discovery thing, right? And it's true on every platform. Like DLC does not convert as well as new games. It's just a fact of how this works, right? If you have something on a shelf that is always going to look better and more appealing to customers than a DLC on an eShop. So yeah, I mean, like from the consumer standpoint, like more people are going to know about this if it's a standalone release and it has a separate name and all of that. There's less consumer confusion there, but from I need to buy this and it could be a $30 DLC, but instead I have to pay $100 for a new game. It kind of sucks. Either way, it looks great. And as I said, you get to play as Birdo, which is the main thing.
I was just watching the trailer, and in there's a Goomba with a knife, but Goombas don't have arms. So I'm very concerned about how the Goomba's holding that knife.
Well, so in the cover art, like I had a chuckle to myself when Michael said this is going to sell like hotcakes because 3 of the characters on the left of the main splash screen are cooking hotcakes. But like one of the Goomba is also flipping a hotcake with the pan handle in his mouth. So
Yeah.
doesn't answer your question, but apparently they can hold things.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it.
Mm.
It's Mario Party, like
I mean, we've played the other 2 on stream, all of us
Yeah.
together. So they're
Have
good
we played
games.
Super Mario Party on stream? I don't think we have, right? Just Mario
Yeah,
Party
when
All-Stars.
no, when it got the online update, like just before
yeah.
Superstars was announced, we did play a bit of it.
Yeah, I think that was the time that I played it in VR.
It was, yeah.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about that. It was such a horrible experience where it was like everything about it was so bad.
I almost threw up multiple times, but I did it.
Ugh. Alrighty.
Jesus.
More Ace Attorney games are coming to Switch.
Heck yeah, this is what I'm waiting for. Come on, baby.
So yeah, this is the Ace Attorney Investigations Collection, which is coming this September. It includes Ace Attorney Investigations and Ace Attorney Investigations 2: Prosecutor's Gambit, which was never released outside of Japan because the first one sold incredibly poorly. So these you play as Prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, who is a fan favorite character. And yeah, the collections are kind of like the other collections, except in this one you can switch to the original sprite art, which is super, super nice. You
Yeah,
can
it's
do
super
that
cool.
in previous collections. So yeah, coming on September 6th, and a first for the Ace Attorney collections, it's going to be available physically in Australia.
Yep.
Which,
First time.
yeah, well, there's a new distributor
of-
for Capcom in
of
Australia. So.
All the games to come out as well, like this one.
Yeah.
But I'll take it. It doesn't matter.
As I said, like there's a new distributor for Capcom games in Australia, so this is like the first release,
Yeah.
first smaller release post that.
Look, regardless, I think it's super awesome that literally every single, or almost every single, I don't know, is it every single?
It's
the
just
Nintendo game?
versus
the,
Layton.
No,
Yeah, the Layton
yeah, just
crossover
versus
region.
Layton. That's right. I was like, wait a minute, what's missing? Yeah, versus Layton. Almost every single Ace Attorney game is available on Switch,
Every
which is sick.
just say every standalone is now on Switch.
Cool.
I did chuckle when I saw that stuff with the new distributor, Ollie, because I got that email and I was like, hang on, they don't talk about games that are digital only, and I was like, hang on. So I had to go look at the EB Games website, and yeah, sure enough, it's there, physical for it.
So, yeah, super,
Very
super
excited.
cool. And you know, when we eventually get Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney in like 2 years' time, they will have gotten everything. They have to make a new one then. So, you know,
Will that release on Switch or only Switch 2 and just break the whole timeline?
It'll only go to Xbox, just to make up for the fact that the next gen
okay.
isn't. Can we also just point out the fact that this is the 4th collection of Ace Attorney games on Switch, and this is like the 90th collection that Capcom have done. Like, how many games do they have left, seriously, that they haven't released already in a collection in some shape or form?
well, you say that, but the next one is going to be, you know, adding to that thread.
Dino Crisis?
Well, no, because Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is also coming to Switch this year.
Oh, but he was saying
Um,
what haven't they released? And I was saying Dino Crisis.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few games. Like Capcom, I don't think people realize just like how huge of a library Capcom has.
Yeah.
When you think about it, it's like, oh, okay, it's like Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Mega Man, Ace Attorney, but they have so much shit. And they've been pumping out new games in most of their series like every year. So
Yeah. There's a reason why they've
It'll
got
be
like
nice to get
11 straight years of profitability.
Yeah.
Because they've just got such a big catalog.
But also a lot of it's good. Which
Yeah.
also helps.
yeah, a lot of it is really good. I don't think they've had like a huge miss in like a decade now. Like all of their games have just been absolutely stellar.
I think like Resident Evil 5 and 6 were the last big missteps they had.
Yeah,
So they took a few
and
years
then like
off.
everything following
Yeah.
that. has
Resident
been
Evil 6
straight
is
bangers.
such hot trash. What a bad video game.
It wasn't a good time.
But yeah, so Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, another collection of classic games. It's got Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the arcade version, but all of the other games are kind of like Marvel-y fighting games, including The Punisher. Luke seems to really be a big fan of The Punisher.
It's a good
'cause
game,
he's
like
been-
genuinely. It's a
Yeah,
fun
it
beat
is,
'em up.
it's a great beat 'em up, but it's also because they called it out twice in their
Yeah.
and the reason I called it out twice in the notes.
So yeah, there's online play for most of the games. I don't think it has cross-play, which is unfortunate, but I don't think any of these collections do. Anyway, that's coming out sometime this year, and for people who like Marvel and Capcom fighting games, very exciting.
Not if you're on Xbox.
No.
Yeah.
So the
that's rough.
Xbox thing is like kind of like weird and interesting, but it's mostly just because of the MT framework, right? Like you can't just publish to Xbox because like these aren't coming to PS5 technically either. Like, but you can still publish on PS4.
Yeah.
You can't publish on Xbox One standalone anymore. It has to be Xbox One and Series. And I'm guessing their MT framework, which is what they use to port all of these things over, doesn't support series or current gen at all, really. So yeah, unfortunate for Xbox players, but just play on Switch or whatever.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Last direct thing. Fantasia. Hey, that's exciting. So one of the earlier Apple Arcade games, Fantasia, is making the jump to Switch in an enhanced version called Fantasia Neo Dimension. So this is a really interesting game that was made by Mistwalker, which is the company that was made that was spun off, I guess, kind of created by the creator of Final Fantasy. And this game is a collaboration between Mistwalker and Uematsu, who is the composer of Final Fantasy. And the entire game world, everything that you see, apart from like the characters and the sprites and stuff, is just miniatures that have been photographed. So there were some really high-profile people who worked on some of the miniatures, including Akira Toriyama, who unfortunately passed away somewhat recently. And yeah, it's apparently a really, really good game, but it's been sort of stuck on Apple Arcade for a while. So now it's coming to Switch and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So super, super exciting. It's coming towards the end of this year. But yeah.
Has anyone played Fantasia before?
I played a little bit of it when it first came out, but yeah, not the whole thing.
I was against Apple Arcade for the longest time, so I never touched it.
I've started it like 3 times, like 3 different times that I've even had that I resubscribed to Marvel Arcade. It's always the first one I go back to because I'm like, oh, maybe now. And I get like 20 minutes in, and I'm like, man, this game is so boring. It's just so disinteresting as an RPG.
I don't know. I think these RPGs aren't really like the kind of thing that work on mobile all that well.
Yeah, I just think that like as a mobile game, which is supposed to be designed to keep your attention right from the get-go because you mainly play for 5, 10, 15 minutes, like, yeah, they should be designed to really capture your attention and kind of move things along a little more quickly and interestingly, whereas this game is just so slow.
Yeah. But I think that like, you know, that's more acceptable on a console game, right? Like,
yeah, and that's
maybe
it'll make a little more sense when you actually have a controller hooked up to it and you're sitting down at a TV or something.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I'm keen for this. I like Final Fantasy games, and Uematsu's music is really good. So
I just think it's absolutely hilarious that Sakaguchi like left Square Enix to make Mistwalker Studios to make all these RPGs he wanted to make, and now Square Enix are helping bring this one to consoles.
Yeah, it is really interesting that it worked out that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the direct. Before we move on to the last couple of things, which I think we'll just very quickly go over after this, what do we think of the direct in general?
A really good direct.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was really, really good. Probably one of the better ones in recent years too. Like in terms of like the variety of content and how good all of that content was. I feel like in previous years, especially in the June directs, like we've had some stuff that has been really, really good for fans of specific things like Fire Emblem or Xenoblade, but not really, you know, good at targeting everybody. I feel like this one, like if you watched that entire direct and there was not a single game that appealed to you, then like I quit gaming, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't know how anybody can watch that and be like, no, there was not a single thing in that entire 40-minute stretch with over like 40 games announced that is not appealing to me.
I think at one point we were like 20-25 minutes in, and I was like, Jesus Christ. And I said in the chat, I'm like, how the hell have we still got like 15 minutes to go in this thing? And like it felt so loaded.
Well, that's the thing, because you're like 25 minutes in and you get to like, you know, Zelda. And it's like, okay, well, this is like the big thing of this show. And then like they just kept coming. Like I don't know, they did a really, really good job of making the direct appealing to as many people as possible.
Zelda was both my high point, or not high point, one of the high points and my low point, because it also meant that Wind Waker wasn't coming. I was like, oh damn it.
You're like, wow, finally time for the 2024 Zelda game. It's a new one. It's not Wind Waker.
I was like, yay!
I think Michael's like the only person in the world who's like somewhat bummed that there's a brand new Zelda game on the way. I will say though too, like going into the direct, I assumed there'd be a few, IP from Nintendo. Like I assumed there'd be a Kirby game because Kirby always finishes out a Nintendo console. But I was always of the assumption that because this was their last year, we weren't going to get big things. Like I thought Mario Wonder was going to be the last big surprise we got from them for Switch. So to have a new Mario and Luigi RPG, to have a new Mario Party, to have a new Zelda game, like I was not expecting one of those perhaps, but not all three. Like that sort of surprised me more than anything, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously,
yeah.
like we went through a lot of announcements in that direct, but like there was also so much in that direct that we didn't mention as well. That have some appeal to them, like the new Denpa Man. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is that game with these
Yeah.
like weird little freaky me boys? Like, I'm
It
totally
was
into
a
whatever the hell that is.
3DS
It was
release
a
originally.
3DS game initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
I'd never heard of it before, and I'm like, I'll give this a whirl at some point. Like, this looks like a lot of fun. With
It
huge
is
LED
also
Yeah.
Switch exclusive for a while and free. So
yeah.
I know one of the games that was really rough to cut from this episode was the new Funko Pop game. That was my peak in that entire
Oh,
direct.
God.
So one of the things I love
Every
to do is
time
I
I
love
see
to
that,
watch those cuts of people reacting to things, and every single person who's watched that Funko trailer, apart from going, "Man, this looks rough on Switch," they'll go, "This is just like Lego Dimensions," and all I can think of is it's because the same fucking people that made Lego making this game.
Yeah, but again, not everyone knows that though, man. Like,
no, I
not
know
everyone
that,
pays attention.
but I'm just it's like you've got a style when you've made one game, and then like 8 years later you're making another game, and everyone goes, "Man, that feels like that game this guy made." But it's just one of those things. It's made me laugh every time it came up.
And
Honestly, like every time I see that Funko Pop game, it like makes me like feel ill. Like I genuinely like looking at that. I'm like, wow, this is content. Like capital C content. It's not anything. It's not art. It's just shit thrown together and like people pointing at popular things. Like it just, I don't know.
And the fact that it's all
I'm sure there were
Universal
people-
properties.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be people that like enjoy the heck out of it. It's just like for me, it's like this is just like the laziest thing one could do with all of these properties. Which, yeah, I guess that's kind of Funko in general.
Yeah.
And then there was also another Apple Arcade game that's coming to Switch as well, which is Hello Kitty Island Adventure, which apparently is like a surprisingly good and robust game, even though it's basically an Animal Crossing remake or rip. People genuinely like it. I've played a little bit of it, but I kind of bounced off of it a little bit just because I didn't really want to start a whole new Animal Crossing game on my phone. But it has its audience.
Endorsed,
I love some of the
endorsed by
characters.
Butters from South Park. So
Yeah, that's
10
it.
out of 10.
He endorsed it years before it was a thing, which is even
Yeah.
crazier.
He did. Yeah, there's also a Metal Slug game, Darkest Dungeon 2.
That was
Clear.
that was also a mobile game too, but that wasn't Apple Arcade. It was just a standard mobile game.
Yeah.
Getting a console port. I do
Stray.
laugh at let's just.
Stray. Unexpected.
Yeah.
That's another surprise.
I honestly thought that had already been announced for Switch, and then I went back through and it was announced for Xbox last year, and I just assumed Switch was part of that
See,
announcement.
here's the thing, right? Is that like I heard about it at work like late last year, and I'm assuming it came via like a hey, we're going to announce this soon. Keep an eye out thing. And then like I assumed that it had already been done, so like people were freaking out. I was like, oh, Stray on Switch, and I was like, was this not already?
Yeah, I had
out?
that
Like,
exact
I thought it was
same
out already.
vibe. So I do laugh. When I saw it, I saw Looney Tunes. I was like, Looney Tunes, yes. And then I saw, at the bottom of the screen, they put up the name and the publisher. It said Looney Tunes, Wacky World of Sports, Game Mill Entertainment. I went, oh fuck no. Game Mill, the folks that did that Avatar game earlier this year, and they've also done the Nickelodeon kart races. They did the Cobra Kai game. They make not horrible but not great licensed games.
I mean, I think like I don't know. Most of their games are like technically better than outright games, like on a pure technical level. In terms of fun, I think like outright tends to like pace them out a bit. But yeah, I don't think Game Mill is a particularly great company. Like, it's not something that excites me when I see it in a trailer.
I do love that Outright Games, in the middle of all the showcases, they weren't in it in any way, shape, or form, but in the middle of all the showcases, just announced a new bloody Hot Wheels game. Not Hot Wheels. What's the
Micro
other one?
Machines. Yeah, boy. Micro Machines. I don't know what it's called though, but it's Micro
Was it
Machines.
Micro Machines?
Yeah. I mean, like
No,
the top-down little car racer.
No, Matchbox Cars. Matchbox. That's what it was. So
What?
Outright Games announced a new Matchbox Cars game, but then
Wait,
the same period, a new company announced a new top-down Micro Machines style game.
I think I completely missed what you were talking about. I saw that there was a trailer. Oh, was it in this or was it in a different presentation? That there was like a Micro Machines like game that got announced.
I think it was a different presentation. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it might not have been Nintendo Direct in that case. Sorry.
No, because I remember because we were talking about it in our chat, and then like a few days later, this popped up, and I'm like, "Hey, we were just talking about this." So,
Right.
but yeah,
Sorry. Nintendo Switch Sports is getting basketball for some reason. That was weird.
Sure.
Yeah. There was another thing. Oh yeah. No wait. Where is it? Oh yeah, Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game.
Ugh.
Yeah, it doesn't appeal to me, but like I've got a couple of friends who are super into Lord of the Rings, and they're kind of into this.
Oh,
What this
I'm
game will
super
be.
into
So
Lord of the Rings, and that does not appeal to me at all.
so
Yeah.
the two things for this one: one, you can't wear shoes of any kind. Hobbits don't wear shoes, so you have to see their weird feet all the time in that game. And two, it's actually made by Weta Workshop.
Yeah.
They have a video game division, and they're making this game themselves.
and I think
It's
that's
also
what's
a very
what's most
storied
interesting. Yeah, I think that's what's most interesting about it, right? Is that they have the rights to a Lord of the Rings game, and like this is what they've decided to make as a cozy game. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll reserve judgment until like reviews come out. But
I saw in one of the live chat things, people were predicting what they wanted to see, and someone was like, "Lord of the Rings PS2 collection." I'm like, really? You want those games just ported across to modern platforms? Okay.
made by like 15 different developers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a huge direct, and there was a whole bunch more that we didn't cover in this. So, yeah. If you want to know more about that, you can go to Vookcast.net to read up on all of the Nintendo Direct stuff. We'll have links as well in the show notes. Just 3 quick things before we move on. Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition is coming out next week or this week, depending on when you listen to this, which will almost certainly be this week. So it's coming out in June 25, basically.
Such a surprise
for the digital
announcement.
version.
Who could have ever predicted this game is coming?
So yeah, it's coming out this week digitally, and then physical orders, you'll be able to do that on July 12. Has a new speedrun mode, cross save, auto saves, a new story episode that connects to Beyond Good and Evil 2, which it doesn't exist. It's not coming out.
Which is really hilarious because Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not coming to Switch, but now the 20th Anniversary Edition has a story element that connects to the game that you can't play on that platform.
Beyond Good
I
and
think-
Evil 2 is not coming
Actually,
to
now that you mention it, I think the most surprising thing about this announcement is that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in development.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to me that they're still
I
trying to
think
make that
we'll-
game.
I think we'll find out about Ubisoft's closure before they admit Beyond Good and Evil 2 is not being developed anymore.
Yeah, it's
Can
fine.
one
We'll
of-
be playing on the Switch 4, so
Can one of you guys do me a favor and email Mr. Ubisoft and find out if this re-release is going to finally have inverted controls or inverted camera controls?
I think from what they were saying in the press release that it will, but I'm not 100% sure. So
They literally mentioned that in the press release.
I think they may have. I don't have the press release in front
That's
of me. At the moment,
insane.
but I think they may have done so.
And
'Cause
it's
there's-
sold. Here's my credit card.
Or
Well,
at the
that's-
very least, they mentioned camera controls. So maybe
Okay. Because I bought this game when it got re-released the first time on Xbox Live Arcade, and it was literally unplayable for me because it didn't have
Yeah, I feel you.
inverted camera controls. So I tried playing, but I cannot play this game at all, and I really wanted to. So maybe I can now. Who knows?
I've been doing that with Perfect Dark. I've been playing that with my 64 controller on the app, and I keep pressing C button down to look down, and it goes up. And there's no way to invert that. I'm like, son of a bitch. I forgot about that.
Yes. Welcome.
Yeah, so there's also a port / remaster of Fear Effect, classic PS1 game, coming to Switch and a whole bunch of other stuff as well in 2025. which I don't think anybody like super cares about, but it's got its audience.
I think the biggest thing for that game is just that weird art style where it's kind of cel shaded but not cel shaded.
Yeah, they were really like pushing what a PS1 could do. Like their ambition was much higher than what the PS1 was capable of.
Yeah.
And of course, the biggest announcement of these past few weeks is Bubsy. The entire Bubsy collection is coming to Switch, and
The 90s Bubsy games.
in 2025.
Could possibly go wrong.
So yeah, it has Bubsy, Bubsy 2, Bubsy in Fractured Fairy Tales, which, you know, whatever. Bubsy 3D, all included. And you know, it's just going to be emulation because that's what LRG does. But you know,
What's kind of funny about this is the first game was Super Nintendo, the second game was Game Boy, the third game was Jaguar, Atari Jaguar, and then the fourth game was PlayStation. Not a single like continuing platform throughout all of them.
Yeah, and it
well,
peaked,
I mean, the first game was also on Mega Drive.
and it peaked at the beginning and then really fell off. And even the first one wasn't that good.
I think
Yeah.
it's Bubsy.
The first one is definitely the best of them, but it's not good.
No, it's not great. I think it's Bubsy 3D that has the voice acting, and it's Rob Paulson who does the voice of Bubsy in the early stuff. He's like Yakko Warner
yeah.
from Animaniacs.
The first game doesn't have voice, or has voices, but not like there
It's
isn't
voice samples, yeah.
acted. Like just
But
it has short clips of voices.
I was actually watching the Bubsy Let's Play done by Giant Bob, and it was done. The voice of Bubsy was played by this female voice actress who I forget the name of at the moment. But then when she discovered, or when it was made aware to her that they were replaying this game and it was getting quite a bit of traction, she actually submitted some voice clips, just basically ribbing what's his name, Jeff Grubb, while he was playing it. So like they would constantly
That's
play it at him while he was playing it. He would just get more and more frustrated at the game. It was really, really good.
Love it.
Beautiful.
But yeah, no, going just on what you were just quoting before, Michael, with the what could possibly go wrong. There's a guy that I play in a brass band with who regularly just says that unironically, like not as Bubsy, just says what could possibly go wrong. And every single time, like it triggers something in me.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I actually have.
I have like a Nam flashback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what it feels like. Yeah. Do you guys remember the TV show Amazing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This like Bubsy, the first Bubsy game was just hardwired into like my DNA memories that this was one of the games that they would play as one of the challenges. That and Mario Kart
on SNES, yeah. And Uni Rally as well. I played.
They also did the Fly Swatter game in Mario Paint.
Yeah.
Yep. What a man! The 90s.
Man, those shows are dead.
They're dead. Yeah.
Which is why it was hilarious when Vooks did one for an April Fool's joke a few years ago, and people like got sucked in hard. So,
It's like,
I mean, it would be nice
the
if
liability on those shows must have been wild. Like children just constantly injuring themselves.
I mean, that's the thing is like
it's all foam pits,
in that
fine.
era, like up until like 2010, there were a lot of like, you know, shows that were of that kind where it's like, oh, children competing and they're running and falling and shit like that. That was a big genre of television, especially in Australia. And now it's just like gone. Like that kind of thing doesn't happen anymore because liability and insurance.
There was one season of a Star Wars show. We're supposed to go to Disney Plus or something. We went to Star Wars Kids on their YouTube channel. It's like Star Wars content for kids.
Is that the Jedi Temple one?
Yeah, Star Wars Jedi Temple Adventures or Temple Run or something. And Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, was the host. And they brought his character from that show back into The Mandalorian as the Jedi who rescued Grogu. And they did one season of it, and they couldn't do any more of it because the kids kept hurting themselves.
Funny thing about that show actually is that it was spearheaded by Scott Bromley, who used to be like a video content creator or something like that for IGN back in like 2010, 2011. And then when he lost his job at IGN because of redundancies, he ended up working for Star Wars not long afterwards. And that was like his baby show, which is kind of insane. To me, at least.
Anyway, that's wildly off topic. Anyway, bring back shows where kids injure themselves. That's what we all want, right? That's the premise.
We haven't the adult version of that in Takeshi's Castle, so.
Sure.
Also,
Um,
I didn't put in here, but I just because I didn't want Ollie to like lose his mind over it. But there is an actual trailer for the Gex trilogy that's coming from Limited Run. So
there is, yeah. I mean,
it looks exactly
great.
like you remember the Gex games looking. It's not remastered in any way, shape, or form.
I mean,
it's just
that's
ported,
the thing. That's my issue with like the way that LRG is doing these things. That they call it like the Carbon engine and stuff, but like it's literally just like a straight emulator, right? Like there's no improvements. Like the only thing that Carbon engine does that any other emulator can't do is that it like plugs into achievement systems and stuff on modern consoles, and like that's it. So like calling it Carbon engine is like, I don't know. I think it's a bit of a wanky term for like what is essentially just a proprietary RetroArch. But you know, it would be nice to see these things improved beyond just
Night Dive have
straight
their
emulation.
Hex engine, which
Yeah.
but their engines like they auto upscale textures, they smooth out things, they put in light. Like there's a whole lot that they do to them. They're not just dumping a ROM in and calling it a day. So
In any case, yeah, Bubsy's coming, Gex is coming. Like it's just a great time to be a fan of real shit late 90s games. And you know, that's me. So yeah. I think we might skip 20 questions because we've been talking for 2 straight hours now. And if we talk for
Yeah,
too
it's
much
been
longer,
2 hours. Holy
we
shit!
won't be able to, you know, actually upload this episode to most of our platforms. So yeah, we may have to call it there. Yeah, I guess we can quickly go over the games we're playing if we want, but I mean, I've just been playing Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, which I'm enjoying, but I'm not, as I said to Michael, I'm not super big into the Monkey Ball lore, so I don't know if it's good or not compared to other Monkey Ball games, but I've been having fun. That's out in a few days, so yeah. If anyone has any other games that they're playing that they want to talk about, please go ahead, but
I've
otherwise,
finally been getting into Hades on Switch, and
nice.
my god, why did I not play this game earlier? It is goddamn amazing.
Everybody keeps telling me I should play it, and I'm like, oh, should I? But then like,
yes,
every single person I
should.
know who's in the exact same position as me has like gone on to play it and absolutely loved it. I did the same
is
thing with Dead Cells, right?
So
like, I
fun.
resisted.
The story's great. The voice acting is great. Like it's just the gameplay is like I'm not a huge fan of like roguelikes or roguelites, whatever you want to call them these days. In general, but this does it in a really, really good fashion that really makes you actually want to continue doing it. But if you're a fan of roguelikes, then it'll be even better, I would assume.
As I said, like I did it with Dead Cells as well, where like people kept on telling me I should play it, and I was like, not really interested. And then I like played it, and I absolutely fucking love it now. So
the problem with games, games where people like everyone keeps telling you to play it, is sometimes it just builds it up to an astronomically higher expectation.
Yep.
And it'll just never reach that. Same with movies. Some people say watch this movie.
Yeah, my friend group has a name for this. We call it the Princess Bride syndrome because we hyped up Princess Bride to one of my mates that had never seen it before for ages. And we finally got him down. We had a movie night with everyone there. He just fucking hated it. Like, he hated it so much. And it was absolutely beautiful.
That's wonderful.
Brilliant. I'm just having a quick look of the Vook's website to find out what Vook's gave Hades. And it's a travesty that it was given 4.5 stars out of 10. Out of 5, sorry.
What an asshole.
Yeah,
what
absolute jerk. The bad, some slow down when fights get crazy. Next, text is too small in handheld mode.
Oh, okay, that's totally fair for like Switch. Yeah. I'm down with that.
The joke there is that I was the one who reviewed it for the website.
Oh, okay. Oh, hilarious.
I couldn't remember what I gave it.
On Steam, it runs at 90 FPS on Steam Deck on the OLED. It runs at 90 FPS, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Great. Yeah, it's a great game. Yeah, on Steam Deck, like the screen is a much better fit for it because it is slightly larger, so the text is a little more readable. Whereas when I was playing it on the Switch, it was update.
I think they did actually update Hades to have slightly larger text on the Switch.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But yeah, all right. I guess I'll play it then when I have time to do so, which who the fuck knows when that is, right? It's been such a busy year for games right now.
My fave character so far is Dusa. She's just the best.
Yeah,
I love her
so much.
Dusa?
Dusa's amazing. Everyone's amazing in that game.
Yeah. They're all really good.
Anyone else have other games that they've been playing that they want to talk about? Or are we good to call it here?
I've been playing more God of War 3, but that's because I couldn't play anything for like a month. So I'm still just back into that now. So, sorry, not God of War 3, God of War, the reboot. Finally into that one.
Oh, nice. Have you played it before, or was this first
Yeah.
time?
No, I've played them
that's
all.
good. You're just playing it for your series.
Yeah.
Yeah. sweet.
I will say, though, I'm so sick and tired of that goddamn kid. I want him
Atreus,
to
yeah.
shut up. Shut up.
I love Atreus.
All the
He was
time.
one of the reasons why I really got sick of Ragnarok. I could not stand playing that game. I got halfway through Ragnarok and I'm like, I just want this game to be over. I'm so sick of this.
He's not so bad in Ragnarok
Yes.
as he is in the
Yes,
first
I'm the
game.
minority here.
Well, my problem with him in Ragnarok is that he was just constantly going against. He was just being an annoying teenager, and I'm just so, at this point in my life, I'm so sick of teenagers.
I guess if
The
you've
one
had to
thing-
deal with teenagers a lot, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That
It's
the
like,
teenage
shut
The one thing I
part would
hated
be kind of
about
annoying.
Atreus and this is more of a gameplay problem than a character problem, is the constant, like, the game gives you like 30 seconds to figure something out. And if you don't figure something out, Atreus is like, have you tried, here's the solution to the puzzle? And I'm like,
Yep.
shut the fuck up, man.
Sony games do tend to do that quite a bit. Like it happens in Horizon as well.
Yeah,
if
Aloy's
you
been
ever
like
have
that
like
too.
a
Like,
puzzle or whatever, Aloy,
the other day,
it'd be
I-
like, oh, I should
I-
try pushing this thing, and it's like, well, shut the fuck up. Like I've just gotten here. I want
Yeah.
to figure it out.
Like I went down like the left path, not the right path, and the moment I veered onto the path, not got to the end, but veered onto it, is like, he goes, is that the way you should be going? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
but yeah, I'm still again. I've been enjoying playing all through all of them, and I am very annoyed at the fact that Square is not attack in this game, because I've just done 6 games in a row where Square is attack, and now it's R1, and it pisses me off. Been conditioned. So
Yeah, I've just been finally catching up on games that came out in the late half of last year. So at the moment, I'm up to Spider-Man 2 and really enjoying it. I'm close to
Oh,
finishing it.
heck yeah.
Yeah, man.
Spider-Man
it's
2 is
so good.
amazing.
I think I'm getting
Such
close.
a good game.
I'm getting real close to the end now, which is really great.
I don't think I've enjoyed a
think-
game like in as much as Spider-Man 2 in a long time.
Mm,
And it's so weird that it's technically like a licensed game.
yeah.
And, like, I know that shouldn't like matter and it shouldn't decrease the quality of a game, but it is just surprising to me that like
Well-
I enjoyed it so hard.
Just on the spectrum of Spider-Man games in general, right? Like, I grew up playing so many different Spider-Man games, and I loved all of them, but I could definitely feel like a lot of them were just, kind of junky. But then, yeah, Spider-Man 2018 came out, and I felt the exact same way that you just mentioned there. Like, just it was like the one of the best games I'd played in a long time at that point. And yeah, I'm feeling that way again with Spider-Man 2. It's so good. I've got so many other games that I've still got to get around to playing as well. Like, I really want to give, because the Elden Ring DLC came out as well, and I've been played through Bloodborne earlier this month, and going back into Elden Ring, and I also want to get to Armored Core 6 from last year, just because it's a completely different style of From Software game.
I was on
I'm looking forward to
Twitch
that.
the other day when I was at work at lunch, and how Twitch recommends you channels on the sidebar. Every single recommended channel was just Elden Ring.
Elden
I'm
Ring?
like, okay, I guess
Yeah.
I'll watch Elden Ring.
I looked at my friends list on my PS5 today, and everyone's just playing Elden Ring as well.
In any case, we've been talking about just complete shit for like the past half hour, so we should wrap things up. Be sure to visit the site www.vookcast.net for your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow us on Twitter at vookcast.net, which is all spelled out, or jump on over to our Discord at bit.ly/VooksDiscord. You can find all of our social information and links for all of the stories covered in this episode, although realistically it will probably just be the everything announced article, because I don't want to copy out like the 4 trillion articles that are in our document here, in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next show.